What's going on, y'all? It's Robinson with Bullies. Today I'm going to touch up on line breeding versus inbreeding and genotype versus phenotype. So, you guys might have tuned in with the interview with Dave Wilson on breeding. We mentioned line breeding is essential to getting a desired look, certain characteristics, traits that you are trying to acquire in your program. Line breeding and inbreeding aren't too much different from each other. The main difference is inbreeding is so close compared to line breeding when it comes to genetics from the genotype and phenotype, that you either will get the best of the best, or you will get some best and some okay or worse, or you'll get some that are worse and okay. What I mean by that is, if there is any genetics in what you are inbreeding that are bad, you have a very high chance of that coming up in your new litter of puppies when inbreeding. So if the dogs have Easty-Westy, messed up breathing problems, heart murmurs, hip dysplasia, weak pasterns, straight stifles, any of those things will come up almost 100% of a chance that they will come up when you inbreed those dogs, even if both dogs look clean. But if they have those traits in those first 3 generations past them, there's a good chance those genes are going to pop back up. Maybe not 100%, but 80-90% chance that those genes will pop up. You might get one dog out of the litter that turns out to be nice. Now, if both dogs are healthy, clean, and they have been for 3-4 generations, and you inbreed it, inbreeding brother, sister, son to mother, or daughter to father, you will have probably the best of the best that you can get with that blood that you have. Now, do I recommend that you inbreed that again? No. But as a product, a final product of your program, of your blood, whatever you are doing, that dog should be able to be thrown to almost anything. It doesn't matter what blood it is, and it should throw its look because of the genes being so tight and dominant that they will carry forth. So now line breeding, like I said, they're similar, but they're different. Line breeding, you can do uncle to niece, cousins, nephew to aunt. But on the other side of that dog's pedigree, even though they're related on the one side, they will have outcrosses on either side of their pedigree, either the mother's side or the father's side, and that outcross would be the line breed. It would be essentially a line breeding. Now, can you have similar pedigrees, similar, opposites of the outcross that have similar dogs in it, but say the one side of the pedigree is an outcross completely, but the other side kind of is similar to what you have? And by similar, I mean distant relative or distant relatives in the one side of the other dog's ped, and then the other side be just completely outcrossed. So that would be considered line breeding. Now, you can line breed for generations, at least, I'd say, before you run into any issues, if there is any. Now, once you line breed those 3 or 4 generations, that's when I recommend that you do an inbreeding, because then you're going to see where you're at with that desired look that you are trying to acquire for your program or for your bloodline, or to establish your bloodline. So then you do that inbreeding, and then your next thing you do is a complete outcross. And therefore, after that, you should have about 4 or 5 generations into your program, and therefore your bloodline, as long as you acquired a certain look and characteristics, you should have your own bloodline. Not saying it's a definite, but you, to distinguish yourself a bloodline, I mean, you got to have those traits or, you know, certain characteristics, a look, whatever the case is, that other people do not already have. Which now the game is more advanced and there's more tools and more styles of dogs than we can really keep up with. But a lot of them are not correct still to this day. There's no such thing as the perfect dog. You know, there's stuff that's close, but not 100% perfect. So now with the phenotypes and genotypes, now we mentioned stacking traits. So when you stack traits, that's phenotype. So you're stacking the traits that you are trying to acquire, even though they could be completely outcrossed, or, you know, they can be line bred or inbred. But pheno is what you see. So it could be the eye shape, it could be the head shape, it could be the bone, the substance, the muscle mass, the angulation, whatever, you know, you're trying to acquire from the outside. Now, genotype is what is beneath of what you see. You know, the characteristics that you don't necessarily see, but they are there. And that's what gives you that look that you're trying to acquire. And that comes from the genetics of the dog. So, understand the difference when you're talking about phenotypes and genotypes. And then understand the difference between inbreeding and the line breeding. Both are similar. Both are necessary to get your end product. But you need to know when to stop and when you need to do it and what you are doing it for. Especially when it comes to the inbreed part. So remember, nothing is guaranteed, and nothing is 100% going to be accurate, or, you know, you're not going to get the result that you think. Not all the time. It could go completely left, or it can go right. It all depends. This is why you need to dissect pedigrees, really research what you're doing, see what you're doing, and you'll get a good idea of this. But take care, and if you have any questions, drop them below, and I'll get back to you. Thanks. Later.